The 90s was an amazing time to be a kid. We had amazing video games, snacks that were probably way too bad for us. We also didn't live in a constant fear that we're gonna get kidnapped if we played outside, and most importantly, we had some damn good TV. We had shows like Figure It Out, Boy Meets World, Pete and Pete, and Hey Arnold. But today I want to talk about a channel that had some great shows but doesn't really seem to get enough credit, and that channel is PBS. I feel PBS was an underrated channel during the 90s. Like, we had the giants of Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and Disney, but PBS had some great shows. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about my top 5 favorite kid shows from PBS. Now, before we get into the list, I just want to give a couple rules. Rule number 1. If it had its runtime during the 90s, it could be on this list. For example, if the show started airing in 1982 and went to 1998, that's totally fine. Rule number 2. As long as it started in the 90s, even if the first episode was December 31st, 1999, it can also be on this list. Last but not least, rule number 3, this is my own personal list. If you disagree with some of my choices, that's totally fine. Just let me know in the comments what your top 5 list would have been. Now, this was a super hard list to make, only because of how many great shows there were on PBS at the time. With that being said, let's start with number 5. Starting this list off, we have the classic Sesame Street, which first aired in 1969 and still running today. The show starts off with its iconic theme song, which, watching it as a young kid, you knew it was going to be a fun time. The characters on Sesame Street were all very memorable and had their own unique personalities. Like, you had Oscar the Grouch, who's, well, a grouch. You had Bert and Ernie, Elmo, who eventually got their own show, and of course the lovable Big Bird. All the puppets were done by the Jim Henson Workshop, so you know the puppeteer work is top notch. What was so great about Sesame Street is it wasn't afraid to dive into darker issues like death or HIV. It was a great learning show for kids that was fun and goofy, but like I said, they weren't afraid to dive into darker issues. I just have fond memories of watching it and even going to Sesame Place as a kid. Coming in at number 4, we have GHOSTWRITER. Not gonna lie, I didn't know what this show was until just a few years ago, so I don't have any childhood memories with it. I was looking up 90s shows for a video I was making and stumbled across it, and oh boy, I'm glad I did. GHOSTWRITER first aired in 1992 and lasted until 1995. It's about a group of young teens that live in New York City who befriend a spirit that they can only communicate with through writing. This spirit, that they call GHOSTWRITER, helps them solve mysteries throughout their neighborhood. The show stars Jamal, Alex, Lenny, Gabby, and Tina, which together make a good cast with some good chemistry. Oh, yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is in it also for like 2 episodes, so that's also pretty badass. Now, I'm not going to say that acting is Oscar-worthy and super amazing because, well, it's not. But it's really not the worst thing I've ever seen. But it's a really fun show. What's great about it is that it's trying to teach kids how to read and write using context clues to help solve things, but it's not super pushy and it doesn't make you feel dumb about it. They make it feel super natural, no pun intended, and it's fun to watch, even as an adult. At number 3, we have Arthur. As soon as you hear the theme song, you know it's going to be a good show, and it is. Arthur first aired October 7th of 1996, and is based on the book series of the same name. It's about an 8-year-old aardvark named Arthur Reed and his journey of just being a kid. The show has a few things that make it great. First, the animation is really good for being a kid show. Some shows from this era, for example Amazing Mouse, which although it's a decent show, the animation in my opinion is just kind of cheap and not that pleasant to look at. Arthur, however, is very well animated and has some pretty good voice acting as well. Just like the other shows on this list, Arthur wasn't afraid to touch on darker subjects like bullies, cancer, and even death. The last thing that makes this show so great is what it teaches kids. It encourages kids reading and relationships with family and friends by explaining that people have different personalities and interests. I have very fond memories of this show, as well as the reading games that were out for the PC at the time. Oh, also, fun fact, The theme song was sung by Ziggy Marley and was actually covered by the Backstreet Boys. That's pretty cool in my eyes. I love science. I also love cartoons. What do you get when you combine the two of them? You get number 2 on this list, which is The Magic School Bus. I absolutely adore this show. I'd be lying if I said I don't watch an episode from time to time as an adult because, well, I do. Between Beakman's World, Bill Nye, and The Magic School Bus, it made learning about science a blast. What I like about The Magic School Bus is that it showed science in a very fun way in the 30 minutes that it had for each episode. It covered everything from space to the human body. Also, let's talk about that theme song. It's so catchy. It's honestly one of the best cartoon theme songs out there, in my opinion. Now, sure, it doesn't dive into serious matters like some of the other shows on this list, but that's totally fine. I love that it's pretty lighthearted and makes learning about science easy for kids. Plus, who wouldn't love to have Ms. Frizzle as a teacher? Now, for number 1, I've kind of cheated. I really couldn't pick between these two shows because they're both just amazing, so well, I'm picking them both. That would be Reading Rainbow and Bill Nye the Science Guy. Like I said before, I absolutely love science, and Bill Nye the Science Guy made it fun to learn about science. Like, really fun. His show was just goofy and funny, and it's still great to watch. Bill Nye just has this personality about him that just makes the show really fun to watch as a kid and even now. Not gonna lie, I still watch an episode here and there, and I still have a lot of fun watching. As far as Reading Rainbow goes, what I liked about it so much is that it taught kids reading and writing skills, and it was actually very calming and relaxing to watch. It even had guest celebrity readers like Whoopi Goldberg, Matthew Broderick, and Patrick Stewart, and it even had a segment called Kid on the Street that would give book recommendations to its viewers. You also can't forget about the iconic theme song. It's honestly one of the best theme songs out there, and it's one of the few that stuck with me throughout the years, and I still know every word to it. The theme song is honestly a 10 out of 10. Reading Rainbow also offered reading and illustration contests for its viewers, which is pretty cool. Overall, these two shows are just amazing. If you have kids and want some good shows for them to watch, these are the two shows I would highly recommend. Well, there you have it. This is my top 5 favorite 90s PBS Kid shows. I hope you guys enjoy this list. If you didn't see a show on this list that you think should have been, please let me know what you would have picked and why. With that being said, you guys rock, stay rad, I'll see you guys next time.